How long will it take to declutter your whole house? It's the question everyone wants answered, but the truth is, we can't answer that. In this episode, we're diving into all the reasons why that's the case. We'll explore the factors that impact how long it might take you, and more importantly, what you can control to keep momentum going. Whether you've just started or are stuck in the messy middle, we'll chat through what to expect and how to move forward with your decluttering one decision at a time.
You're listening to the Declutter Hub podcast, bringing you tried and tested, no-nonsense tips and advice from the leading experts in decluttering and organising your home. Now here are your hosts, Ingrid Jansen and Leslie Spellman.
Hello and welcome listeners, I'm Ingrid.
And I'm Leslie. Now, if you're here for the very first time today or you've been listening in for ages, we want to say a huge thank you. And we have a little favour to ask.
If you like what you hear, be sure to hit that follow or subscribe button, share us with your friends, or leave us a review. It makes a huge difference to us. Well, Leslie, I am really happy we are talking about how long does it take you to declutter your house, because it's like the $1 million question, right? It's what we get asked all the time, either by clients that we work with, podcast listeners, the members in our membership. We get, Ingrid and Leslie, how long does it take to declutter my whole house? How long will it take me? But it's like an impossible question, but we do really want to answer it, right? We do really want to say, 3 months, 6 months, 1 year, but we can't, because it's like, how long is a piece of string?
Exactly. No, it's a really, really interesting question and one that we get asked all the time. And I think people want to understand, you do want a time scale on things, don't you? So you can sort of work towards those things. So I think it's super important to have a think about it, but to think about all of the different components that form part of how long it takes, really. Of course, it's different for everybody, is the overreaching kind of answer to this question. But we've got some really good things to talk about that are really going to focus your mind, maybe in a slightly different direction to the way that you were thinking. Now, what is the right amount of time, Ingrid? Do you know what I mean? So nobody ever wants it to be as long as it is, probably. People, even if it's only going to take somebody a month, people probably want it to be a week. If it's going to take a year, people want it to be a month. Do you know what I mean? You don't want it to be long and drawn out, do you? Because you want the end result. You want to get that clutter-free home, and that's what this is all about. So it's an interesting one as well, Ingrid, because this is something that we get asked when we're out with clients as well. So when we go to clients and we do a consultation, somebody comes, gets an idea. I can get a professional organizer into my home to help me. And one of the first things that we get asked on that consultation call, whether it's a phone call or whether we've gone round to their home, is like, how long is this going to take? And our answer is exactly the same as the kinds of things that we're going to talk about today. We cannot say how long it's going to take, and we will not say how long it's going to take. And sometimes people think that's a bit of a cop-out, but it isn't, because there are so many factors. And what we want people to do, we want to manage expectations. That's what this is all about. So let's get stuck into why this is such a difficult question to answer, and why we're not going to answer it, even though we're doing a whole podcast about it.
Yeah, I think, Leslie, I think there's three kind of overarching things. First of all, every home is different, every person is different, and every situation is different. But let's dive into that a little bit then. So first of all, I think one of the things that we need to think about is the volume of stuff, right? How much stuff is there in a house? Because whether it's 2 years of stuff or 45 years of stuff is different, right? It's all, that has a massive impact. Is the house absolutely full and chock-a-block and packed to the rafters? And I'm not necessarily talking about that somebody necessarily has to be a person with hoarding disorder. I just mean a very full house. Some people have just very full houses, but when you come in, it looks nice, but you can see that all the cupboards are kind of bursting at the seams. Everything is kind of out and everything is very full and everything. Or is it like, oh, okay, yes, there's room to walk around. When I open the doors, there's not stuff falling out everywhere. So that's already, I think, where it starts. How much stuff is there?
Yeah, I think that's really interesting, Ingrid, because I think what you've got to sort of factor in is the fact that every single item that you come across, whether or not you're going to let it go or decide to keep it, a decision needs to be made on an individual basis about every single thing that you see.
Yeah.
And so, but that volume of stuff that you have in your home doesn't necessarily need to go from a lot to very little overnight. But even if you decide ultimately that you want to keep some things, you still have to make that decision that you want to keep it. And the thing that dictates very much, of course, yes, the volume of clutter, the amount of things that you've got, but also how easy or difficult it is for you to be able to make those decisions. So, if
Yeah.
I can put it in the context of a client, for example, now imagine the scene: professional organizer has gone into a home to help somebody. We've talked about things, we've set the scene, and we're getting stuck into the actual doing at this stage. There are some clients who are very focused, very determined. All they want us for really is to get the job done logistically, to help them with the kind of schlepping, with the sorting, with the reorganizing and things like that. And the decision making is not difficult. And so they know that they've got too much stuff. They've made a decision that they ultimately probably want to get rid of 25, 30, 40, whatever percentages of their stuff. And they can make those decisions quite easily. Some people can make multiple decisions in a minute, like 10, 15 decisions in a minute. Other people might take 15 minutes to make one decision. And it ultimately it's determined by what the item is, whether it's a sentimental item, whether it's a practical item, how difficult that item is to make a decision on is determined by lots of different factors. But
Yeah.
ultimately, it's about the speed of your decision making,
Yeah.
and that is a very, very key part of how long it's going to take to declutter your home, whether it's
Yeah.
yourself or whether it's with a professional organizer. What a professional organizer can do is not speed up the process, because that's not what we're there for, but we can ask the right questions, and that helps you to come to your decision more quickly. So I just wanted to put that in. So what we're not there is to speed through things and make you go faster than you want to go. That's not what it's there. But there's something very empowering about having somebody with you, Ingrid, isn't there? To kind of, because you know a decision needs to be made one way or the other, and you can't just put it in a maybe
Yeah.
pile. And so,
Yeah.
yeah, so that's a key factor, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think what you already kind of mentioned is the kind of the emotions that sit behind the stuff as well. I mean, because some people are just more emotionally attached to other than others. Some people kind of treasure every little drawing from their kids, all the outfits that they wore, can even remember the day they wore this thing themselves, or the ornament that their friend, they know the story behind every little thing. While others are maybe a bit more practical and go, well, they've outgrown it, I can let it go. So I think the emotions that sit behind the clutter is massive and really influences, again, that's very closely connected to how long does it take you to make a decision to let something go. So I think those two are absolutely connected with each other.
Yeah, definitely. I think decision making is really key. I think, we've talked there a little bit, Ingrid, about sentimental items, but let's not forget that there are things that are not sentimental that are also difficult to make decisions on. But, you've got
Yeah.
the emotional stuff, the emotional side of things that sit behind the stuff. People, you guys know, you listeners have been with us long enough, unless you're brand new, and if you are, welcome, to know that the emotions are everything. And so whether that's worrying about the environment, it could be that might stop you in your tracks. It could be worrying about money, it could be worrying about waste, it could be guilt, it could be all of the things that we talk about all the time, are all the things that we think we can make an easy decision on something, and then something stops us in our tracks. And it's not just sentimental items, it is everything. So yeah,
Yeah.
so just wanted to sort of drop that in.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it also really depends on how much time you've got available, right? So because what we see sometimes, especially with our members in the Declutter Hub, is that people join us. They want to, they're like, we need Ingrid and Leslie in our lives. We're going to join the membership. We want to have that opportunity to ask Ingrid and Leslie questions. We want to be part of that community. We want to do the learning. And some of the members who have more time to devote to decluttering and organizing, you can see, not everyone, but most of them make great strides forward because they're like, I'm here now, I'm going to do this, I'm going to focus, I'm going to spend my time on it. And you can see them kind of go through the rooms at a nice pace because we're teaching them like slow down, don't rush, take your time, do it one step at a time, do it one category at a time, but they have the time available. While of course other people might go, but I'm trying to build this in around everything else that I'm doing in life as well. So it's very different than if I've got, half an hour every day, or wow, I'm, for example, retired. I've literally just retired. I don't have all the hobbies yet and all thought out what I want to do with all the time that I used to spend on working. But I know my first priority is my house. So I'm going to spend the time that's become available on my house. And I've got a block of 2 hours in the morning and another 1 or 2 hours in the afternoon available. So I think that really influences as well on how long does it take, because some people just have less time available than others.
Yeah, because there's no point in saying it's going to take me 3 months if what you've got to do is, manage a busy family. And if you're lucky, you've got half an hour, 45 minutes, in your day where you can devote to decluttering. Now, there's an argument that says that you have to reshift focus from other places to find the time if this is what you want to do, because ultimately we all know that decluttering is going to save you time in the long run once you've sort of nailed it. But it is different for different people, so therefore we can't answer that question until we know your individual circumstances. And of course, there are other things that come into play. One of the things that I want to talk about is logistics. Ingrid spoke about right at the beginning of the podcast, we talked about very full homes. And so whatever that looks like for you, and you will know whether you feel that your home is very full or too full for you, lots of different levels of what very full means. But the logistics slow you down. And so if it's difficult, if you've got a lot of stuff, even just finding space to be able to sort, to be able to gather like with like, to be able to kind of put boxes out and things like that, to be able to move things from A to B, all of those things take additional time the more full your house is. And so you have to factor in the logistics, and it might be just one room, it might be your whole house. So logistics absolutely plays a part. If you've got a nice clean slate to work in, you can put tables up to sort into, you've got space to put boxes down, then it's going to take you less time because you're able to make progress through that more quickly.
Yeah, and of course connected to that's the beginning of the decluttering, but of course also at the end of the decluttering, how, in the beginning you're trying to sort out your exit plan, where am I going to donate, what can I give away, what do I I'm gonna put on a free giveaway app, and how does that free giveaway app work, so that is going to take a bit of investing of time in the beginning. But once you've got that exit plan nailed, it's easier, and you will then also speed up. But in the beginning, you're going to need to kind of figure that all out a little bit, but it will help you in the long run so much.
Yeah, we talk about building up your decluttering muscle, and normally we talk about that in terms of an emotional muscle, don't we? Kind of build up your ability to make those decisions. But of course, it is all about process as well, and the process, including the exit plan, including the planning and things like that. All of those things you're going to start to work on and understand what's coming a little bit more, so you're not floundering around, which a lot of people are at the beginning of the decluttering journey. So, and I think also, let's factor in, you talked there about exit plans, and that's a perfect time to talk about it. Have you got help? This is going to play a part. If you're doing this on your own day in, day out, of course, you're going to get decision fatigue and physical fatigue. But if you've got somebody that you can outsource, that you can ask to help with some of the logistics, with some of the exit planning, taking stuff to the tip, taking stuff to the charity shop if that's possible for you, that's going to really help, because all of those little trips and things that you need to do take more time. And if you can then
Yeah.
devote your time to doing the actual decluttering and organizing, and somebody else can do the sort of peripheral things, then that's really going to help you speed things up and use your time where it's best placed, which is to do the kind of emotional decision making rather than do the other stuff, which can be outsourced. The only person that can make decisions about the stuff in your home is you. But other people can take stuff to the charity shop because that's just a practical process. So that's very
Yeah.
relevant as well. Who have you got around you that you can outsource things that don't need you?
Yeah. And I think that's one of the things, Leslie, that's, underestimated as well, like how to get these things in place. And that's why it's so nice to know. I think it was somebody who kind of mentioned something on the Facebook group. It was the other day. And somebody said, "Oh, well, did you know?" But she said, "Oh, my problem is always getting stuff out." And somebody said, "Well, have you tried this charity? And they collect nationwide." And she was like, "Oh my gosh, this is like brilliant." So suddenly one of her obstacles was like solved by the help of other Facebook members. And it was just fantastic. So, we're helping each other to find solutions. And I think that is for her is going to cut down on the time, how long it will take her, because a barrier that was in her way is now solved.
I think it is about investing the time in the beginning to do the research, to do the planning, to find these little wins that are going to help you in the
Yeah.
long run. It's like everything in life, isn't it? You can spend some time sorting a few folders out on your computer, sorting your bookmarks out, whatever that might be. And it just
Yeah.
saves you these nanoseconds all throughout the day that all ultimately add up to saving you lots of
Yeah.
time in the long run. And decluttering is
Yeah.
no exception to that. Talking about I want to talk a little bit about energy. Now, this is something that we talk about all the time, really, Ingrid. So,
Yeah.
there's no doubt if your health is playing a part in your decluttering process or in your life, actually, then that is potentially going to slow you down. And whilst you may have the best of intentions, sometimes your time is not your own because something else is taking over, whether that's mentally or physically, to stop you in your tracks and stop you from achieving what you wanted to achieve that day. So we have to factor that in as well. So if you're somebody who struggles with mental health, struggles with physical health, even neurodiversity as well, we really need to factor that in and think, how is this sensible for me to do it for so long? What's the right amount of time for me to invest in this? So people like me, if I need to, I can sort of hyper focus on my decluttering. We're used to doing it. We do it all the time with clients. We can easily go 5, 6, 7 hours. Well, not easily. 4 or 5 hours is probably our max as well. But we could keep on going for 5, 6, seven
Yeah.
hours. But there are many people where that would just wipe you out. You would do one day and then you would never come back to it for another week or 2 weeks because you were so wiped out. So some of it is about recognizing your own energy levels and the restrictions that you've got and what you're kind of working with, right, Ingrid?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think a lot of people underestimate that,
Yeah.
really. It's like, well, why can you not just get a bag and put some stuff in and just focus on this thing and just do it? And it's like, well, if it was that easy, we would all do it, right? And we have to really, really take all of these things into consideration. And one person's energy is just not another person, and I think that's really important. And one people's quick decision making is not another. Some people have oodles of time and others don't. So all these things have an influence on how long it will take. So let's go for a break and we'll definitely return with some more after. Hi everyone, welcome back after your break. We are talking about the $1,000,000 question. How long will it take me to declutter my house? And before the break, we talked about all the things, why it's so difficult to tell. So let's continue. Why?
I just, it was all like, oh, it's hard. This is going to be hard. That's going to be hard. That's going to take time, blah, 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 blah. So we need to flip this around and go, okay, so how do you break through the hard to actually make this
Yeah.
happen? Because it is entirely possible to declutter your whole house. We want to say that. And we just need to
Yeah.
work on how to do that the best way that we can. And so I think for me, when somebody asks, how long does it take to declutter my house? It's less about somebody else dictating what that might be. And it's more about you deciding, in principle, how long you would like it to take to declutter your house. So I think one of the key things within any kind of big project is to try and put some kind of time scale on it. Now that time scale might be a difficult thing to get to because it might be tricky for you to work out at this moment in time. But we've all got ideas, we do, when we go on other transformational journeys, and weight loss is a really easy example of that. We go, I've got a holiday in August and I would like to have lost this much weight by that time. So we've got this kind of arbitrary deadline, haven't we, that sort of sits there. And it may shift, it might not happen, but we're still working towards something. So we've got something in there that's kind of going, oh, yeah, I need to do that because that deadline is looming. And I think it's the same with your house. Now, what I think happens is people typically underestimate how long it will take to declutter their house because they're not thinking about all of the things that we've spoken about before the break, not thinking about the emotional your journey that you need to go on, not thinking about the decisions that you need to make repeatedly, the learning that needs to go on to build that decluttering muscle, all of the other factors, the exit plan, thinking about what storage is going to look like, thinking about organisation, thinking about curveballs that are going to be thrown your way. So obviously give yourself a little bit of leeway, but I think it's really important to go, do you know what, I would like to get my house done. And we're really lucky actually, aren't we, Ingrid, in the membership, because people, we talk quite a lot in things like our challenges, things about the podcast. We talk about taking it slow and not kind of over egging it a little bit and kind of going, oh yeah, I want to do this in 2 months. And, yes, it's possible to do this in a month or 2 months, but you probably get a better result if you take a little bit longer. So I think people typically come into our membership and go, do you know what, I'm going to commit to a year and I'm going to see how I get on within that year. Because even if you've decluttered your house within 3-4 months, there's loads of other resources in the Declutter Hub that are going to help you with routines, with life admin, with seasonality. So it's not just about decluttering your house. There's many, many other things in there. So a year is a good timescale. So we see that kind of 1 year timescale all the time. And it's definitely something that a lot of members work towards, right, Ingrid?
Yeah, I think so too. And of course, then you can start to break that down a little bit, right? So in the first month, I would like to do my kitchen. And by month number 2, I would like to do maybe my bathroom and linen cupboard. And then I want to move to the bedrooms. And then, although I know, for example, the toys in the kids' room are later on the roadmap, it's nearly Christmas, for example, or a big birthday is coming up. So I want to do that next. So I think you can start to really then see things develop, because we know that decluttering is not a one-time project. It will forever be in your life, but it will become better. That first phase is really, really important. That first phase of decluttering, when you work your way through your rooms and you build up your decluttering muscle over time, that is when you probably will do the most decluttering. Not always, but mostly. Some people just skim off the surface, but along they go, they learn more and more. And sometimes in the second time in their kitchen or their bedroom or their books, they are far more like ready to let go of, because they've learned much more. So it's so much hangs on you as a person, and how you do the learning, and if you're taking it on board, and if you are ready. But I think when you say to yourself, okay, I have a deadline of the end of the year, or I've got a 1 year until I retire and I want to actually have my house ready for when I retire, or my daughter-in-law is pregnant and I need to have my house ready for when the baby comes, which gives me 9 months or something, that will help you to have that focus and maybe help you with the timeline as well.
It's really interesting, Ingrid, talking about that kind of phase 1 and phase 2 that is definitely a part of our membership and our members' journeys.
Yeah.
And so, you talk about some people get better, get braver. Some people go for it all in one go at the beginning and then get to a stage with the phase 2 where it's fine tuning. So again, even that is not, it could be that you're going for it because you're one of those very determined people that we spoke about at the beginning who doesn't struggle with the decision making, or it could be that you're somebody who is really struggling with those emotionals because that's something you've been wrestling with for a number of years or decades even. And so even that is like, and until you come into our world or become one of our clients, we don't know, until we have that.
Yeah.
Even when we have our initial consultation with clients, for example, or even when we get that first email from one of our members, we don't know how it's all going to unfold. And the answer probably is you don't know how it's going to unfold either. So
Yeah.
you have to
Yeah.
allow yourself an opportunity to reflect along the way. So that's, again,
Yeah.
that's a big
Yeah.
part of what we do. Constantly like pondering projects. How has this gone? Was I being realistic with the goals that I set? Am I being, kind of saying, oh, I'm going to get my kitchen, my bathroom, and bedroom done in July, for example, or August? Is that sensible? It just changes, doesn't it, Ingrid?
Yeah, Leslie. And also, what I was thinking about when you were talking, it is also some people think that the decluttering is the thing that's tripping them up. Well, they actually find out quite soon it's not the decluttering, it's more the where am I going to put it? Where does it make sense? How much is enough for me? Why is there so much overflow? Because they have to switch their mind from I need to buy baskets and containers to get organized to it's not the baskets and containers. It's actually what makes sense for me in my house to have these items. Actually, I'm actually not too bad at the decluttering, but it's the organizing, it's the storage, it's the logical, it's the visibility, it's the I can't tidy up because I need to do my cupboards first. Whole turnaround in their heads. And and that's why it's so amazing to be have this membership, isn't it, Leslie? Because we see the transformations that happen with our different members and how they just go through it in all their different ways, and that there's no wrong way, and they all, in their own way get there. And some of them take a long time. They're like self-confessed tortoises, and others are like, wow, I'm actually going a lot better, or gosh, it's taken me a month to do my kitchen. I had no idea. But they see they've learned so much, and they use all of that learning in the later rooms, so they can actually be much quicker in later rooms, and I didn't expect that at all. It's that that's my favorite bit, I think, of being, having a membership and seeing it all.
Yeah, we're lucky because we're not doing the hard work, are we, Ingrid? We're talking about it. We're okay. We're like, yeah. But I think it's, we talk about things like, oh, it's taken me a month to do our kitchen, but just jumping back to what we were talking about right at the beginning, that might have taken a month for somebody to do their kitchen when they've got 3 hours spare a week. So therefore, actually, it's only taken them what might be a couple of days for somebody else if they set their mind to it, And so
Yeah.
it's just, I'm very conscious that this has been a kind of this is hard type podcast and there's no answer to this. But I think really what we want to say and within this is go into it with your eyes open.
Yeah.
Some of the things that you've done in the past and some of the in inverted commas failures that you've had, if you've had failed attempts or what you would consider to be failed attempts at decluttering, or if the clutter's crept back in, and go, what was it about that process that didn't quite work? Was I
Yeah.
exhausted because I did too much? Did I, overstretch myself? Did I start in a too difficult of a room? There's lots and lots of different things that mean that you might just come up against these barriers that stop you in your tracks, and that's what it is. So this is all about reflection all the way through. Reflection at the beginning, reflecting back on what you've done in the past, a reflection about where you'd like to be and what your deadline might be going forwards. And then once you get
Yeah.
stuck into the process, reflecting constantly about how it's going, what you're finding easy, what you're finding difficult, what you need to fine tune, where it's falling short. Reflection on where are you ready for the next room? Do you need to have a little break before you go again? Reflection on which bit of it you find most difficult. Is it the decluttering stage, the organising stage, the storage stage, the donation stage, or indeed the routine stage? So many people are like, fine with the decluttering, fine with the organising, fine with the storage, house is looking tickety-boo, but actually I can't help myself with a reset every day, and it's just going back to square one every day. So this whole process is about reflection at every single level.
Yeah.
And I think that's
Yeah.
something that we obviously hammer home all the time, that this is not straightforward for many, many people, certainly the people that are in our world. For some people it is, they're fine, and we can see those people on Instagram, on Reels, and doing an amazing job, and that's all good. But if you're somebody that struggles, you need to go into
Yeah.
this and really refocus your mind and think about
Yeah.
reflecting on this process as you go along.
Yeah, 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 definitely. There's no one size fits all, absolutely. And we really want you to celebrate your wins and keep seeing that progress instead of having this picture perfect image in your head. Go, you know what? No, I'm going to be proud of myself of what I've achieved. And I think that's why, that's what we love so much in the membership as well, is to celebrate those wins, to celebrate that progress, to have the tools in place for people to follow our roadmap, follow our system, but have that flexibility to do it how you want to do it and how it's going to work for you. So, you know what? I think, Leslie, I would love our listeners to really think, have a ponder about what we've talked about in this podcast and go, okay, I'm taking this all on board. And now, with all the knowledge that Ingrid and Leslie have talked about, I'm going to go and ask myself, what would work for me? What time scale is realistic? Am I looking at after the summer? Am I looking at the end of the year? Am I need to go, okay, I am, whatever, something big is happening next year, and that's going to be a deadline that's going to help me. So listeners, let us know in the comments, in the post, anywhere, has this helped you to step away and go, right, okay. They cannot tell me how long it will take me to do my house, but all things considered, what would be a realistic time scale for me and what can I work towards and keep in the back of my head? I think that would be, I would love to know this from the listeners, right, Leslie?
Yeah, definitely. I think it's just all about having that end goal rather than it just keeping going. What we don't want you to think,
Yeah.
yes, decluttering never goes away and you always have to be decluttering, but you don't need to be on this full-blown decluttering process that a lot of people are at the moment. If you have that end goal to say, I want to be happy with where I am and know that I've just got to
Yeah.
fine tune and tweak after that by the end
Yeah.
of 2025, the end of 2026, by the end of September, whatever that looks like for you. Set those goals, set those deadlines, and give yourself that intention. That's the most important thing.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's what we have for you today, listeners. We hope you've enjoyed this podcast. We appreciate you listening in week out, week in, week out. And if you're brand new here, a very warm welcome. And we hope you are back next week for a brand new podcast. Thanks so much.
Thanks so much for listening to the Declutter Hub podcast. Don't forget to subscribe to us in your podcast player so you don't miss an episode, and we'll see you next week.